You ever say something to a woman and suddenly her eyes change? She leans in, her voice softens. You hit a nerve, not with cheesy lines but with power. Real masculine energy disguised as a compliment. Most guys don't even know these exist, but once you do, it's game over. You've probably complimented a woman before, told her she's beautiful, smart, or has a cute smile. And what happened? She smiled politely and moved on with her day. You became another forgettable voice in a crowd of simps, trying to win her over. But here's the truth. Women aren't starving for compliments. They're starving for validation from a man they respect. And that's where 99% of men fail. They hand out approval like Halloween candy. There's no power in it, no presence, no tension. By the end of this video, you'll know the top 3 forbidden compliments that make women obsess over you. Compliments that stir something deep in her gut, making her look at you not as a boy, but as a man, with presence, control, and a dangerous edge she can't quite explain. This matters because most men give away power to get attention, but the men who know how to hold frame and wield words with precision don't chase attraction. They command it. This is about masculine communication. Words as weapons. Compliments not to flatter, but to lead. And here's what guys get dead wrong. They think compliments are supposed to make her feel good. Nah, the right compliment makes her feel seen, makes her question how you figured her out, and makes her wonder who the hell you are and why she wants your approval so badly. Now listen carefully, because this is where dominance begins. The first forbidden compliment is, "You're more dangerous than you look." That's not about beauty. That's about depth, mystery, and edge. It flips her perception of herself. She'll ask, "What do you mean?" She'll laugh nervously, but in her head she's wondering, "Hush, how does he see that in me?" And more importantly, what else can he see? You're not saying it for effect. You're making an observation like a man who studied people. And in her mind, it's spinning. Her ego feels both flattered and challenged. That's tension. That's what ignites attraction. And Stoicism, it's right here. Calm voice, steady eyes. You say it not to get a reaction, but because you see the truth. And speak it without need. Let her chase the meaning. Let her crave the validation she didn't even know she wanted. The second forbidden compliment hits even harder, because it's not about her body, it's about her mind. You don't let people see how smart you really are, do you? Now pause, let that land. You didn't say she's smart, you said she hides it. You've called out the mask. You've gone beneath the surface, something most guys never even attempt. You've stepped into the arena of emotional intelligence and subtle dominance. And here's what she's thinking. Wait, how does he know that? She's not used to being understood, especially not by a man. Men usually either ignore her intellect or worship it. But you observe, you reveal, you unsettle her in the most attractive way possible. This is where most guys fail. They think attraction is about attention, flashy compliments, and over-the-top flattery. But real attraction isn't loud, it's surgical. It's quiet confidence, stoic control. A man who doesn't need to impress her, because he's already impressed with himself. This compliment works because it does 3 things at once. First, it acknowledges her intelligence, which few men do. Second, it suggests you see beyond the facade. And third, it places you in a higher frame. A man who reads people, not just reacts to them. Women are emotional creatures, but the man who understands how to stimulate thought, how to create curiosity without giving everything away, lives rent-free in her head. Days after you've said it, she'll still be thinking about it, wondering what you saw, wondering what else you see, wondering how the hell you noticed. Now tie this back to Stoicism. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is that principle in action. You observe, you listen, you wait, and when you speak, it lands like a hammer. Not because it's loud, but because it's true. You're not giving a compliment, you're holding up a mirror. And the more accurate that mirror, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're trying to seduce her, but because you understand her in ways she doesn't even understand herself. And when a man does that, she doesn't just want him, she respects him. Now listen closely, because this third compliment is not just forbidden, it's lethal. When delivered with calm confidence, you feel safest when you're finally not in control. Don't you? Say it slow, like you already know the answer, like you've seen it before. This isn't a compliment. It's a psychological gut punch, dressed as insight, and it flips the entire script. Suddenly she's not in charge of the interaction. You are. You're exposing a truth she hasn't said out loud, but feels in her bones, and that right there is irresistible. Because here's what women rarely tell you. Control exhausts them. They crave a man who can lead, who can hold them steady in chaos. Not with force, but with presence. When you say this, you're not talking about dominance as aggression. You're talking about dominance as safety. Now imagine her inner dialogue. How does he know that? Is he saying I'm controlling, or is he saying I can finally relax around him? You've triggered a paradox. You've forced her to reflect. You've unsettled her in the most seductive way possible. And here's the secret. This line only works when it's true. You can't fake this. You have to embody it. She needs to feel that when she's around you, she can let go. That your masculinity isn't loud or insistent. It's anchored, calm, unshakable. You're not trying to control her. You've simply mastered control of yourself. That's Stoicism. You don't react. You respond. You don't chase, you choose. You don't seduce, you reveal. Most guys try to impress women by proving value, but this flips the fray. Now she wants to prove herself to you, because you've seen a side of her no one else saw. And you did it without breaking eye contact. She'll be hooked. Not just because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. You left the space open. You didn't explain it. You let her mind run wild. And in that silence, she felt your strength. Real power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from restraint, from certainty, from knowing who you are, and letting her feel it without ever having to prove it. Now here's the part that separates the men from the boys. You've got these 3 forbidden compliments. You know how to deliver them. But if you don't live them, if you don't become the man who owns these words, they're worthless. This isn't about tricks. It's not about manipulation. It's about stepping into the version of yourself that women respect instinctively. The version that doesn't need approval, doesn't beg for attention, and doesn't get thrown off when she tests you, because she will test. She'll challenge your confidence, push your buttons, and go cold just to see how you respond. That's not because she hates you. It's because she wants to feel your edges. She wants to know if you're solid or soft. And if you react, if you try to win her back with more compliments, validation, and chasing, you lose the frame. But if you hold, if you remain composed, she'll feel it, because deep down, every woman wants a man who can walk away from her and not lose himself. So when you say something like, "You're more dangerous than you look," or "You don't let people see how smart you really are," or "You feel safest when you're not in control," you better say it from a place of grounded power. No neediness, no outcome, just truth. And you'll notice something strange happen. The compliments don't push her away. They pull her in, not toward your words, but toward your energy, that masculine presence rooted in silence, logic, and discipline. Because the most attractive man isn't the loudest in the room. He's the one whose silence carries weight, the one who doesn't flinch when challenged, the one who sees the game, but doesn't play unless it's on his terms. You want to apply this? Stop talking so much. Watch her, study, compliment her with your awareness, not your need for validation. Make her feel like she's being seen by a man who doesn't need her, but chooses her. And remember this: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be the man who speaks little but speaks with impact. Be the man whose presence creates gravity. And when you give a compliment, make sure it's one she'll never forget. Not because it flattered her, but because it exposed."